Hello and welcome once again to Wandering Monster, where we don't playtest games, no, we award them. My name is John Baldisberger.
I am Charles R. Bernard.
Ian Servas.
Mr. Paschke.
Friends, gentlemen, ladies, theys, thems, anything else I'm forgetting. Right now, you're probably saying one of two things. Maybe you're saying, an award? How insane. I just zoomed in and I had no idea this was about to happen. How exciting. Or else you're saying, yes, John, I know, you sack of shit. You emailed me and told me. Whatever the case may be, we're really excited to be here. It is not an exaggeration to tell you that the four of us have been busting our asses for the last 48 hours to put this together. And by the four of us, what I really mean is the four of us. Like, oftentimes when I say we worked hard on this, what I really mean is like Ian planned the game, Charles did a bunch of promotion, and Patchkey put together a pretty slideshow while I like drank a Mai Tai on the beach. But no, like we all worked really hard. And this wasn't easy, my friends.
It also wasn't planned all that long ago.
Well, it's something that we've kind of discussed, but we wanted to really make sure that we really honor the games that people share with us. There's always a frightening thing with giving your intellectual property to a bunch of strangers you probably haven't met before and say, run this and please don't say horrible things online or disrepresent my IP and trust all that. And so we want to acknowledge that branch of trust, and also for us to share our appreciation for everyone's time and effort. If you're a content creator, there's a lot of work that goes into making a game.
All of us here have done work on IPs. We've all worked on various projects. We know the blood, sweat, and tears. I'm a publisher. All I do all day is work with authors and artists and creators. And I know, man, I keep looking at my little square, and Ian and I look like we're about to like commentate on a football game, and I fucking hate it. This is terrible.
Here comes the guy. Sports
there it goes.
Left center,
now at least I look like an alcoholic.
Down the field.
Now at least I look like an alcoholic PI.
Or an alcoholic salesman, either way.
Well, that's a little too close to home, Mr. Bernard.
I mean, am I supposed to start stripping?
Yes.
I thought this was supposed to be after the Golden Tentacle Award.
So listen, listen. We've played a lot of games this year. Oh, we've played over 40 games.
41.
That's over 40. Hey, over 40 games this year alone.
Individual role-playing games. That's one per week that we've done this show and not fucked up and had to skip a week or what have you.
We've only skipped one.
Right, and we didn't start at the beginning of this year, so next year it's going to be 52 goddamn games. So anyway, 40 games, and we took every single game we played and we broke them into what kind of category we thought best represented the best aspects of those games. And then we argued for about two and a half hours. And we got it down to I'm
wearing a whole suit to like hide all the bruises because John, man, your cross is just
I drove to Indiana just to shank Ian over the Christmas holiday.
I still owe Mr. Paschke money for doing that.
Christmas holiday, and you could have made it Shanksgiving. It was right there in front of you.
Shanksgiving.
I didn't know I was pissed yet. If I had known.
My anger knows no time limits, no beginning, no ending. I'm the alpha omega of rage.
5-dimensional anger, yeah.
So we have a bunch of categories. We have a bunch of awards to give tonight, a bunch of people to recognize. To kind of give you an idea of how this is going to go, we will introduce a category. We'll talk a little bit about what that category is. We'll then talk about the nominees. We will give out the award. We'll talk about people who were kind of really close to being nominees because we're really strict and it was kind of painful. And at the end, we will send out these graphics with your award if you were one of the winners, and you can slap that on your product, slap it on your website, shout it to the moon, get it tattooed on your body, whatever have you. And I think that's all I have for us as far as lead up.
I am willing, if we are all willing, putting everyone on the spot, a 4-way split. If someone wants to get this tattooed on their body, I will split the cost of making sure that it makes it way onto your flesh.
If you want to get a Wandering Monster or a Wandy award tattoo, I will split that cost with Ian.
We'll make this happen.
It's a guaranteed way to win.
There's one graphic that Mr. Paschke made tonight, a very special graphic that we'll get to. That I honestly think that I will be getting tattooed on my body.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So let's get started. So we have a lot to cover. So let's just get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is these games. They might be in other categories. They were really fun, but these are our personal staff picks. These are the games that, for us personally, despite no matter what else happens with the rest of the night with the nominees and winners, these are the games that we personally wanted to reach out and kind of recognize as being stupendous for whatever reason. So in the tradition of introducing their character first, Mr. Bernard, would you tell us about your staff pick?
Oh, gladly, my friend. So I actually have my pick to hand because I needed to bludgeon someone to death. There it is. Okay. My pick tonight, I would call it a little book, but it's not, is a project called the Apollo 47 Technical Handbook by a game designer and assistant professor of game design at, I forget the name of the university, Tim Hutchings, and he's best known for his journaling game 1000-Year-Old Vampire, which is also very good. But this magnificent son of a bitch is this thick.
Wow.
Massive.
You can hear that.
That's beautiful.
This is the single biggest book that I own, and I own the collected writings of Heaven's Gate, and those are some talky motherfuckers. So the fun thing about this is that it is essentially like a double-sided page of rules, about 20 pages of kind of fleshing out the rules, and then that much flavor text that's just like how you work your way through the manual is sort of the game mechanic. There are no dice, there's no board. It is just, and what I love about this in particular is something about the old school revolution and about tabletop games in general that I really love is the physicality of a lot of it. The idea of having an artifact be part of the art, I think, is fun. And while it's great that PDFs are available, and Lord love a duck, I have plenty of games in PDF form.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few that I treasure and just want to own a physical copy of. And Tim Hutchings' Apollo 47 Technical Handbook is one that if you can afford the shipping, which I think since they said it freighted actually wasn't that much, or it's something like freight. Yeah, something like that. It was like it got here relatively quickly, and I think when you get above a certain weight, it's cheaper. I don't know. But at any rate, yeah, you can get that on itch or any number of places. So check it out.
I might have to get that. Going through a manual as a game sounds awesome.
I mean, as a GM, just looking at that and saying, run a shot, I'm like, oh, buddy.
And so much of it is amazing, like blow up diagrams of like lunar rovers and like procedural trees for like if there's a fire inside the station or what have you. It's like it's really fun. Yeah.
Excellent. As is our wont, Mr. Paschke, why don't you tell us about your staff pick?
All right, my staff pick is Codex Martialis, which was a game that we played and I thoroughly enjoyed. And I think as someone who likes to do the sword fighting, the way that they have the game mechanics set up in that and the way you are able to make decisions in the game is the closest I think I've ever had in an actual tabletop RPG to like coming to when you're actually standing there hitting someone with a sword. So I love it. I would like to play more of it someday with some people. Hopefully, I'll get someone interested.
I think
Maybe.
it says something that the guy who does like sword
Historical,
fighting as
yeah.
a sport and hobby, like loves this sword fighting
Yeah.
game, and I enjoyed kissing a man as I disemboweled him. So, you know,
Yeah,
it
that was
was
fun.
it was interesting because the game was built on that 3.5 D&D chassis, and it really provided a lot of combat maneuvers and crunch in a way that wasn't boggy, but definitely it was helpful if all the players at the table would be really well versed with that, A, the historical literature, and then B, the rules themselves, because it's very technical in a very fun way. And so
Hang on.
Patchy's at
Pashke, it took me a minute, but I thought of this one. And even if you don't know your dirk from your longsword,
oh boy.
it could
Again with the
be-
Dirk jokes.
it's a massive Dirk.
Always sending those Dirk pics.
Yep.
You know, we kind of steamrolled over Ian tonight because he's generally giving us the lowdown on the game. And he didn't have to do that tonight, so he got a little bit of a break, but no longer. Ian, your staff pick.
It was very hard being the person that ran a majority of the games. You're intimately involved in all the guts of everything, and there is so much appreciation. There are like so many games that I would love to just have shout outs for, but I'm trying to resist that urge. I really enjoyed a lot of the games for things that you could use in other settings, like random tables. And so, very hard choice. But as Charles was mentioning, there's something about in the digital age, despite me loving PDFs more than print these days, having an actual risograph printed material. So Pontus Björlin sent me lovingly from Sweden copies of his game, and he intentionally doesn't sell PDFs because he wants people to have that tactile experience. And there's something this amazing with it, the weight and the texture of the paper, actually seeing ink that is rolled onto your product gives you a different experience. So the Alt NYC 88 franchise, for lack of better words, I would do as a staff pick. Moreover, because this actually just arrived for me yesterday, and how this became on my radar is the second installment in the Dr. Zeke's garment story, which is Dear Mr. Tank Cop. So this was kickstarted earlier in the year, and this is by Pontus and his writing group Hornhand. But what's fun about this is that it is a fold-out map. And it's extremely well designed in that this thing would fill out the entire camera screen that I have. It's printed with text that's upside down so then it can be player facing so the GM can read it. And then on top of that, the players are given color filtering glasses so they can't read the GM text. So everyone is sitting around their table with their glasses while the GM is literally reading off the room text and where they are and handling each encounter room by room. Which
that is a very worthy contender. And I want to point out that earlier when Ian says this was a difficult choice, Ian, like midway through the day, Ian was like, hey, what if I had 5 staff choices? And I burst through his wall like the Kool-Aid maid and man and the Kool-Aid maid in a little French maid outfit and just beat his ass.
Yeah.
Again, with very the bruises. But as far as one of the things I think is really important is the intention of the game. And there are a lot of games that have great flavor and mechanics, but don't hit that intention that they want. So the fact that these games are trying to invoke that 80s sense, the childhood nostalgia of the 80s with being throwbacks to comic books, etc., having your comic, these aren't 3D glasses, but a lot of us grew up with comics or movies that had the 3D glasses. So you have a tactile experience for everyone at a game that is intentionally in line with the design. I mean, I think that needs just recognition right there. So
absolutely,
that's my staff pick. The Alt NYC 88. That's available on Etsy. So look up Fantastic Fiction and check this out and get it in the actual physical meat space.
Oh, I'm ordering that as soon as we're done here. That's
really cool.
That's a must-have.
My staff pick is a little weird.
You're a little weird.
Because if you know anything about me, I don't read PDFs. I have like a terabyte of TTRPG PDFs, and I don't read them because reading PDFs gives me a headache. However,
which has
I
led to
got-
your feature of John's physical copy only reading corner, which I like quite a bit as a
Give me
thing. Actually,
PDFs. I'll
yeah,
save it.
John-
so we'll go over that. I'll go over that
Yeah.
in a little bit at the end of
Okay.
the show, because we have a lot of announcements after the awards that I think are going to be pretty big news to the creative community. So my pick is a game that I was given early access to as kind of a proofreader, first pair of eyes, and then we got to play it. I've purchased a signed copy, but the book isn't out yet. And that game is Hell Knight by Gabriel Quiroga. Gabriel's a great guy. We've talked a lot. We do the thing where we slam back a few shots of tequila and then start like, now let's work on this together. Which we haven't worked on shit together other than me taking a look at his amazing game. Hell Knight is, if you wanted to run the Nick Cage movie Mandy using Morkborg.
oh, that's awesome.
No Ghost Rider reference?
You know what? I wanted to choose a good movie, actually.
I haven't seen Ghost Rider, so I'm right there with Mandy.
The second Ghost Rider movie, not entirely terrible. Anyway, moving on.
So
All
Hell
right.
Knight is just this assault on your senses to
Mhm.
read. It's a chaotic, beautiful mess where, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show. I like games that take everything to an absurd level. Everything's cranked to 11. Everything is just batshit insane. So my staff pick of the night goes to Hell Knight. Absolutely, 100%.
And as a yes and on that, also working with Gabriel as well, hearing the early version of his track, there's a theme song for Hell
Yep.
Knight.
Yes, there
Which
is.
is
He said that to me. It's
A
very
lot
good.
of fun. The hair metal aspect of it.
Yes.
Cool.
It is glorious if you haven't checked it out.
He posted he posted online the other day that he was at band practice and it was him and his friends sitting around playing Hell Knight.
And
So-
it's such a it's also a living tribute to his uncle, who also taught him how to make a lot of that design and that art. And so to me, it's really cool reading that because his uncle had passed. And so you have this physical tribute to a man. You can see all the love that's poured in this book because each layout, each page is painstakingly made with such attention to detail. It's truly a wonderful game and a work of art.
And it'll make your eyes bleed in a good way.
It will. I had to add
So-
that in there. Thank you for letting me run over in time.
So thank you so much to all of our staff picks. You will be getting the coveted Opal Tentacle.
Also known
that
as
you
the
can-
tie-dye tentacle. Yeah.
Yeah, they can slap on all
that's
your
my
shit.
favorite of the colors.
So, our first category of the night is a personal one. You see, we somehow, some way, did not win an any this year. I don't know how that happened. There's no rational explanation. So we decided, fuck it and fuck you. We're going to give ourselves an award. The first category of the night is the best wandering monster catchphrase. The nominees are "It's for your health." Mr. Patchke, give us our second one.
Our second one is get it.
Get it. And Bernard, if you'll give us our last.
Would that be Loose and Bossy Cox?
It would
Yeah.
be.
If I may, for people who have missed those episodes, a quick rundown of where to find
Yeah.
these and why they have persistent longevity. For Your Health was for our first actual game that we really ran, besides our pilot.
Yagdera.
Exactly. By Cable Animal King, and who also has a Kickstarter right now in Korg. Check it out. It's just $6 getting it. But that was a Ravioli Supreme, his first appearance, convincing someone that calcium is very valuable to have in your diet. The
Who
Get
talked
It
to you about your calcium? It's for your health. So,
That was a great moment. And that was also where I first learned about how I can never predict what you're going to do as a character, John. Second of all, the "Get It" comes from "See You Space Cowboy," which was the catchphrase or slogan for a series of corporate convenient marts. So every time you'd enter into a building, you would hear the corporate slogan of "Get it."
This was a brilliant moment because it was the four of us, well, the three of us, like panicked trying to improv and world build around Ian's
George,
play.
you
Like he's
just
like,
did that
oh,
great.
what's their slogan? Get it?
Yeah.
Get it.
But so listen to that
I will
episode.
never forget.
It.
Who was it that popped off Squid playing a xylophone? Is there? That was you. That was.
I thought it was Paschke. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Okay, that episode is Patchkey's gold.
Yeah.
Because there's a monologue in which he tears down the emotional worth of a poor old woman working at the Get It Mart.
Man, it's
like, I go back and listen and cry laughing every time.
It's a shame that we had some technical audios because we've upgraded our equipment since then, because that was one of, I think, at least one of my favorite episodes, because
it was so good.
How organic everything was. And I think it was where we also really gelled with improv. And since that, we have leaned more into improv progressively more and more, because these fine gentlemen are so good at it. So, and then Loose and Boxy Cox comes from The Aberrant Six by Steen Hansen. And that was, I was the editor on that project, and I was helping with localization because American English is already a bastard weird language. American English is just off the rails.
Yeah.
And I was trying to say, hey, maybe the word cock may be a comical word to some of our American audience. Maybe
especially those who are extremely juvenile, like me.
And he insisted, keep Loose and Bossy Cock as far as a literal rooster running around a yard. And it just became something. It's just Bernard, you just saying this like, come on, you loose and bossy cocks.
Exactly. Like, yeah. I like to call these guys loose and bossy cocks now.
I had one of those moments with Gabrielle where I was like, hey, this phrase, it doesn't mean what you think it means.
Yeah, which is why, like, localization and translation is so important. I mean, it's the rare person who, like Vladimir Nabokov or whoever can, fully translate their own work into like multiple languages. Even those of us who are, like, I say us, those of you who speak a second language, it always helps to, get a little bit of flavor. And nothing against Abhorrent Sex. Great game. We had a blast playing it. I am just a child and have been saying that to these guys ever since.
I love localization just because it is a fun. It's one of my favorite things to explain people. American English is a goblin, and this is an innocent phrase and what it means a horrible, inappropriate slang thing in another language. I love it because it's just unpredictable.
Yeah.
So I will say next year we'll have some categories that viewers get to vote on, such as best catchphrase of the year. We'll have it on the website or something, so you get to have an opinion. But for now, we're giving this to ourselves. And the winner of the Wanman best catchphrase is
Get
it. Yep.
Get it.
We found many a place to cram that one in where it didn't belong. And it's been fun. Yeah.
So congratulations to Wandering Monster.
Thanks, guys.
You're amazing. And with that, we're going to move into the meat of this episode.
It's for your health.
We're going to start with this was a weird category because when we first put these together, we put them by system. So it was like best Troika, best OSE, best Morkborg. And we realized like most of those had 2 games. And it just kind of didn't make sense. And we had all these different categories. It was very loose. And so we decided to kind of change that up. However, we played like 12 Morkborg games this year. It was fun. So we decided to keep a category for best Morkborg. And the nominees are Porkin the Void, the Cross Stitch, and Orkborg. Orkborg. So two of these Mork board games are set in space with pigmen. Let's talk about that. Charles, I think you are one of the lead proponents for nominating Pork in the Void. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, dongle teeth was my reason for that. I loved the sort of like no, I think that was that Pork in the Void or was that Orkborg? I don't remember. Yeah, it was Orkborg that actually I suggested.
Oh,
and
sorry.
No problem. And the reason for that was like it was like I've only I'm a recent convert to 40K, like last 3-4 years of really getting into it, and like the orcs were kind of the last thing that I learned to appreciate, and I've only just learned to like really get a kick out of them. And that is such a fun setting where like your guts are made out of a washing machine and like your neck's an old accordion hose from a radiator, and like it was kind of junk sci-fi, I guess would be the term for it, that I really enjoyed.
I will say Pork in the Void. Two things come to mind immediately. The way it was set up so that it was completely randomly generated is something I really love as both a player and a designer. The second thing I'll say about that is it has my best voice work.
Yes.
Like the deranged psychic pig noises that I made as I clutched my head and forced someone through a wall, teleported them through a wall, but not their feces, was art. If again, way to go, John, pat myself on the back. But the game just allowed for so much fun and so much like over the topness. And I thought really nailed the like mix of grim dark but also silly that I think makes Morkborg so much fun. Ian, you are one of the biggest proponents of the cross stitch I know. Could you tell us a little bit about that nominee? You are on mute. Ian is on mute. Not
Ian's
John.
on mute. Yeah.
Almost.
A second. Yeah, there you go.
I have a cat in my lap. My cat, I've learned that he has been learning how to press buttons on more things, which is frightening. He has recently learned how to turn on and off a space heater, which I'm like is going to lead to the death of me. So if you ever learn that I've died in a mysterious fire, it wasn't for insurance purposes. It was my cat. So that's fantastic. So what makes the cross stitch unique for people who haven't seen the episode? Well, there's spoilers, so plug your ears to the next. As long as you see my mouth hole running, it involves time travel, which is a trope that is usually very ham-fisted, corny, or just thin and terrible, but it executes it in a folk punk horror way with mechanics that back it up. So it's also a reason why it gets nominated for mechanics as well later down the road.
Not just time travel, but a time loop.
Exactly.
As the mechanism of the game.
Thank you for specifying that. So if you were to actually have time to play the game to its fullest, it executes that time loop where it lets you know from a GM perspective where people are and the events that happen with a convenient table for each of those areas. So you can actually run that and you don't have to worry about logical contradictions or things that your players do because it's laid out in a very easy to use, consistent format. And I was really blown away by the depth in that module. So especially too, it handles how much do your players mess up. Normally there's kind of a binary win-lose with modules. This kind of lets you know, here are the different permutations of how things go badly, and it actually predicts how players mess up. So it was really cool, but there are tons of great Morkborg games that we played across the Morkborg family, and it was very hard to pick a winner, but that one did mechanic very well and had a great mood. Great playlist on Spotify, so I highly recommend you checking that out.
So with that in mind, the winner of Best Morkborg Game Played this year is Orkborg. Orkborg wins, and it wins for a slew of reasons. It was a lot of fun. The book is ultra teeny, which gives it a really nice feel.
Graphics
Where
and layout are incredible.
Roland Coons, who did the graphic design for this game, is incredible. Grant Howitt, who did the writing and design, did such a good job. Where it really nails the 40K. Yes, sir.
Roland Coons, while we're on the subject, tweeted the best 40K tweet I've read in like a year, in which he said, "Petition to rename Darktide Ogre Watch."
So,
props on that, Roland.
The game hits that 40K feel while still being obviously a Mork Borg game. It's really masterfully done. And honorable mention, by the way, to Bowser, which whole like I was like in the green room when we were discussing this. I was ready to throw fists over Bowser because that game, like, it was so much fun, and we ate. Charles and I just ate our way through the adventure. It was a delight.
Hairball after hairball, yeah. And then afterward, I could like cure people's poison. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
A fun thing worth mentioning about Orkborg is that unlike a lot of other pocket settings or very small settings, it doesn't ham fist you into you can only run things that are compatible. The last page in the book actually tells you to kit bash anything, even things that aren't Morkborg. So the utility of that is very smart because it gets very light. This is how you hand wave GM magic these technological issues if you bring in something that's medieval fantasy or even just whatever it is. So that's very smart to have system sustainability.
Yeah, it really does an amazing job, and the guys are brilliant. So congratulations, Orkborg, for best Morkborg game played this year. The next category is best mechanics. Now, this one was an interesting discussion because I initially wanted to leave it all in the hands of Ian and go take a nap. I was really tuckered out after fighting for Morkborg stuff for a while.
And eating a bunch of tacos, let's be honest.
Okay, yeah, I ate a bunch of tacos, and then I cried when they didn't nominate Morkabians, the game. So I had to take a nap. However, we had to look at it from both directions, right? We had to look at it from the GM perspective and from player perspective, because sometimes the game can be really good for one and kind of suck for the other.
Exactly.
And a great game will have synergy between both groups. So the nominees for best game mechanically are The Cross Stitch, 3 Die 6, and CU Space Cowboy.
Let's talk about the mechanics in each that brought them to the table.
Absolutely.
Ian mentioned the time loop in the cross stitch, and I caught on to that because I was a cheater pumpkin eater, and I read ahead in the book beforehand. So like, but if I hadn't, the recurring like what do you want to call them, like mundane occurrences that cue players off like a little bit at a time about what they're in for, I think is like a really cool way to like unspool the story a little bit at a time.
I also think that hearing that they have a table in there for time and place and occurrence is a brilliant use of space and design. So,
and it's done at time units, so
it's genuinely some Galaxy Brain shit. Like you're keeping track of every event in a fictional environment. Like that was masterful game design.
I would love to run it again, and just see how differently play, especially having enough time to do, because you're supposed to do so many.
You could explore it,
and because there were so many locations, there's no way in our short time that you could have explored all the areas so you can see the things. Because imagining like when we did our live play, the building was torn down. One of those two, like the building where the twins were, you could be across the town and see that from a distance, and just that's great.
So then we have 3-6.
Lots of fun.
Now let me like full disclosure. I backed this game way back when, and I pushed Ian against a wall and threatened
Lobbied
him
hard.
if we didn't play this. Like
And
I had been
hard and rough. Yeah.
I had been yelling about wanting to play this, and like Ian would be like, "Well, I haven't gotten in touch with the creator." I'm like, "I don't fucking care. We're playing this. I brought you onto this cast, and I can take you out."
Yeah.
I was red in the face, and he put it on the calendar, and we got geared up, and then I fucking got COVID.
Yeah. So
that was before
you know
started
why
producing.
you got COVID, John? Because anger is bad for your immune system.
I will.
It's not for your
fuck
health.
liver.
Wow.
Wow.
This was before Patchkey was handling the back end of stuff. So
Yeah.
I like crawled to my computer, like opened an eye, watching my friends set up to play the game I desperately wanted to play without me. Hit the play button, and then I crawled onto the couch, fell over, and cried myself to sleep. I have no idea how this game went.
It was fun. So 3-6 is a multi-self system, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I thought that was really cool. Both because of how it, made the game handle, and because of like my hobby of reading psychology books, and how I've been building this theory in my brain that like we all don't have a single self, or like anyway, it was really cool. And also
multitudes.
Yeah, we are vast, we contain multitudes. Exactly.
And from a GM perspective, the enemies in 3-6 are kind of built on an AI system where they will respond to the player's actions based on how much HP they have left. And they have like set things that they can do in response, where you roll and it's like, okay, well, they have this much HP left, and I rolled this, so the monster does this turn, which is really interesting, and I think really plays into that like animals and insects acting on instinct. Really cool design, and while I was very sad to not be able to play, it's a joy that we got to bring it to y'all to experience. And see you, Space Cowboy, guys.
Where we get our prize-winning catchphrase. Yeah.
So it's interesting because, kind of going back to the introduction for this, if I were to have my like top 3 mechanical games, I think it would be vastly different than if it was to be asked from the players. So I think what makes Sea Space Cowboy kind of like a dark horse in this is that the mechanics are die size based on how good you are to scale. It's something very easy for people to learn especially on the fly, and it's non-restrictive for really creating narrative. So I think that's probably, and you all can chip in on that, I think that's why this would go mechanics, is that it captures the intent of the game where you're playing this anime or space opera, not even space opera, space punk, space scrapping, and it does it very, very succinctly, very neatly, based kind of on flavors of actions, and you assign a different size die to it, and it's fun mechanics.
Of all these games that we've mentioned here, See You Space Cowboy was probably the one that I felt that, shit, I need to run a game tonight. Grab a book off the table, run to the bus, read the book on the bus, and then start playing. It's casual, sure, but it's elegant. It had everything you needed to do anything. During that game, Patchkey stealthed against a wall and drew balls on a piece of graffiti, and like a scene later, Charles is destroying NFTs while I'm summoning like a Floozy Cooley style mecha gun.
Yeah,
like it was super fun, but we got to play with these tropes in ways that felt very organic.
Yeah.
Okay, So without further ado, the winner of Best Mechanics is See You Space Cowboy.
All right.
Yes.
Yay.
Congratulations, See You Space Cowboy. There were a lot of things we had to discuss on mechanics, like, okay, well, what if, like, I love Troika's initiative system. Like, so should one of those games go on here? I love this from this system. Should this go on here? But in the end, the fluidity, there we go. I know words. The fluidity and the ease at which we were all able to kind of slide into See You Space Cowboy really kind of won the title. It was a fantastic game. So congratulations, See You Space Cowboy. Mr. Patchy, I realize I went off script. Is best storytelling our next category?
Let me, you see, talking and moving things around.
Can you chew bubblegum and walk?
We're doing storytelling.
Hold
on.
We'll let him move stuff around.
Okay. Okay. Did that. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Best storytelling is next. In fact,
so
it's on the screen now.
Everyone, close your eyes. Imagine the last 10 seconds didn't happen. Friends, we are going to next cover a very exciting category. Our next category is the best storytelling. Now, this can mean lots of things. This could mean that the book's lore and world building was stupendous. This could mean that we felt empowered to tell cool stories, or it could mean that the mechanics of the game lent itself to the creation of cool stories. The nominees for the best storytelling are Bones Deep, Hell Knight, and Legends of the Lunch Line. Man, I could uppercut all three of these as being incredible. So
really, really fun games. So Bones Deep, John told me about when it was still on Kickstarter, I think. And he was like, yeah, there's this game where, you know, it starts when your dead body hits the ocean floor and it doesn't rot, it hatches into a skeleton, and then your skeleton strolls across the ocean floor. And I was like, I must immediately play this game. Like, I think I actually interrupted you to say that. Like, it's got everything I love. The ocean depths, bony skeletons, like a way to tattoo your skeleton bones, which is just
you can
awesome.
swim shawl for magic.
Yeah. Great.
But from a storytelling perspective, one of the key mechanics of Bones Deep is that the skeletons are able to absorb memories and like into themselves. And so one of the ways you experience the world is through the story's past. And that came into play during our session where I showed a floundering romance from centuries past on this ship in order to give you the code to open a door. And it was really like, that was all improv, right? But the mechanics of the game and the setting of the game allowed those stories to be told in an amazing way. And that's why they have been nominated. Yeah. Hell Knight's brutal, bro.
Hell Knight definitely gets the Satanist seal of approval from me. It was like, storytelling wise, it's another one of those kind of chopped and screwed, like, best of the 80s and 90s, like, metal culture that just created for me like a very atmospheric sort of experience.
And I completely agree that the atmosphere and the again, the gonzo storytelling really was incredible. Legends of the Lunch Line, this is a one pager. The lore is probably 4 sentences deep. So everything else was brought to you by us. But that said, I don't know that I've had more fun telling a story and embodying a character as I had last week.
So I was thinking about this, and I was like, so many of us go through the like U.S. public school system and eat innumerable like thousands, if not tens of thousands of these delicious meals made by hair-netted workers that we like come to know and sometimes be quite fond of. And like Legends of the Lunchtime was just it picked up a cue that like all of us kind of knew without knowing we knew it, which is like lunch lady as hero, lunch serving personnel as hero. And that's just
such
like
a natural fit.
It is.
Yeah.
And it just sparked immediately in my brain like 5 or 6 different like directions we could have gone with it. It was really fun.
It felt amazing, and it was frankly it was an incredible experience to play. As all of these as like every one of these games hit on a story level so hard, and there's even more that we did not get nominated that is painful for us that we didn't include them.
We had lots of discussions of like favorite moments, and there are games I'm resisting mentioning now. Like
you can mention them after we announce the winner.
Okay.
Honorable mentions. So for best storytelling, the winner is Legends of the Lunch Line.
Yeah. The most fun that I've had with canned peas and canned carrots in a dog's age.
I feel for Plato Radiatori Supreme. I know him. I wake up in a cold sweat thinking, I have to go make lunch for the kids.
It's so interesting from a GM perspective because there is a less control that you have on a minimalist game like that, and it's so much more prone to improv, and there's always this fear of what if things fall flat, or what if there's a beat missing. So it's so interesting to hear your reaction to the game, and then also in the back of my mind I'm terrified of like, is this enough meat that I'm dangling out there to make this go further? So
sure,
it's so interesting from the side.
Congratulations to Legends of the Lunch Line. And just so I can cut Ian off, honorable mention to Constant Downpour.
Yeah. Marvelous atmospheric game based on a Ray Bradbury short story that's quite incredible. Like that one was just really, really great. Yeah.
In the Mothership system, it was. Stepping back a moment, just in case you weren't aware, Bones Deep was in the Troika system. I want to shout out both those systems, Mothership and Troika. We didn't end up having a best like system category, but these were both fantastic systems to play those games in. Ian, go ahead. Tell us your honorable mention.
Grok is one I think that gets an honorable mention because there are so many tables for random generation, and all of you had a moment from that playthrough where you talked about being in a two-dimensional world, creating a 3D object and making a black hole. Like that's something that can't really be replicated in other games, or at least not in that same way.
I ordered Grok while we were still recording. I bought it immediately.
$1 PDF and then the print on demand or other versions is also very affordable.
Very
great
affordable
content. It's like that, like Into the Odd, having those tables where you can do spontaneous world generation, great for the game. Rip it, put it in something else. But those tables came together very well for Grok, and I was always excited whenever I rolled on something what would come of that. So definitely I'd say that's an honorable mention for sure.
So our next category is best game experience. Now it's worth mentioning this is not the same as the best overall game. This category is for the one where the three of us, the three players, like cut the camera and just started high-fiving each other over and over again, like while screaming, "Hell yeah, brother!"
This is very, very much a player-centric.
Like very, like we all like hair just spontaneously sprouted through our clothes, and I grew one breast. These are the games that were just so much fun that like we didn't know what to do with ourselves. So the nominees are See You Space Cowboy, Cocaine and Alligators, and Legends of the Lunch Line.
Also, a
So
game.
I'm gonna tee off on cocaine and alligators
Please,
right out of the gate.
Before you do, was that a Troika game as well?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say tee
Please.
off on an alligator, I'm fully imagining, Bernard, that you were like putting like a tee on an alligator and getting ready to just tee off of it. So
Like an
Yeah.
alligator man.
I straight up followed an account just the other day that's like nothing but photos of alligators like crawling onto people's
Yes.
stuff. I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, so obviously based on the title, you know that this game is Florida centric. And I have a lot of family connections to the great state of Florida. And like in terms of bonkers shit that we got to do in a game, I think that was maybe the most gonzo we've gone. Like I don't know. There were some other contenders, but I did get to satanically animate the Hall of Presidents at
You did.
Disney
That was a
World
highlight for sure.
and send the presidents into battle on my behalf. So
And
if
you were a
that sounds like
satanic
something,
senator.
yeah, if that sounds like something you want to do, then perhaps consider cocaine and alligators.
I want to point out that I have played an extreme youth minister orc.
Mhm.
I have played 2 goblin chefs,
Yep.
1 sociopathic, 1 whatever the
Benevolent.
opposite is, completely empathetic to
Yeah.
children. And I've also played a psychic pigman.
Yeah.
Playing
Or one that thinks he's psychic or might be psychic, but not in the way he thinks. It was unclear.
Yeah, it was very unclear to me and also everyone else. Playing an alligator wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
Because it was very like I gave my alligator a heavy like Cajun accent, if I remember correctly. However, it was very important that players know I was not playing a humanoid crocodile man. I was playing an alligator wearing sunglasses. So very often during gameplay, I would just stop and go.
I need to rewatch that.
I think a good half the game you were just laying on a rock, taking a nap.
It's like, no, man, I'm sunbathing. I'm basking. What the fuck you doing?
It should be worth mentioning that Jeremy Chowdhury, who is the author of the book, is also still working on a sequel that'll be coming out in the future as well.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
And so we talked about the other 2 games already. CU Space Cowboy, where we got to really play with the tropes of anime and pop culture and space punk in really delightful ways.
With a xylophone.
And Legends of the Lunch Line, where we just like, I don't know what happened, but we all kind of just like fell into this pace of like completely holistic mayhem.
We all have this shared experience of going to public school or an equivalent where you ate school lunch. So it equally, I think, hit everyone's nostalgia buttons.
Yeah.
And you just, no matter what, you could relate to it, except for me and the Texas Straw Hat.
Guys, real quick,
we did
guys.
get to discuss regional school cuisine.
Hey guys, Square Pizza.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta go get Totino's right now. Okay, so best game experience, and the winner is, I can't think of a song.
I already hit
the button.
Cocaine and alligators.
Booyah. Yeah.
Yes.
The character classes alone in that game are worth the price of admission. Satanic Senator. Alligator with sunglasses. Like, amazing.
Troika does an amazing job. Just like, you want to play a thing? All right, play a thing.
Yeah.
And Cocaine and Alligators said, oh, you're going to let me do that?
Yeah.
Cool. Then let's fucking go.
Building on what you're saying, John, something I think is unique about Troika is that there's a lot of concern with a lot of games, especially ones that have more mechanics and guts under the chassis, with balance. And that's not really a concern with Troika. And what I think is wonderful about it is that characters are not equally balanced with one another because you can't predict chaos. And it doesn't matter if something's more powerful than another because ultimately it's going to be balanced out by player chaos in the end. So do what's fun. It's 100% rule of cool with just enough guts to make it function mechanically. So
no GM strategy survives
exactly.
contact with the players.
It was actually Troika that pulled me from the kind of title pool of like modern D&D iterations. Like it finally broke me from that, realizing like that's not where I'm most happy. Troika, there was a supplement that was like Axis and Orcs Volume 2. I don't hold me on the name of that, but it was a compendium of various odd classes. And reading that you could play as like a 1980s Ford pickup truck, or like 3.2 pounds of nervous pudding, that was liberating because I'm like, yeah, this would be fun, and there are enough mechanics where you can make this work, and it self balances. So if you've never played Troika, definitely pick it up. Look at all the community
I would like
content.
to mention I'd like to mention an honorable mention here. I fought for this game to get on the nominees, but
Solitaire doesn't count, John.
There were so many great games that it would just like at the end. Don't Lose Your Head, which is the OSE
adventure from Old School and Cool, Volume 3 from Night Owl Publishing.
But the whole concept of it was that you got to play like, it's like, okay, what if you just want to play like ultra powerful high level characters?
And yet, ironically, was that our first TPK?
No, it was not. I did not die.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But we fast forwarded. You didn't prevent the apocalypse. So you basically sat in your little monastic tower as you saw the apocalypse saying, and then that's when the camera faded to black. So
that's what I would do.
Technical TPK, but all players killed but one. That was Big Sword Mama.
Guys, I don't know if you
Mom crushed us to death. It was great.
So I'm on TikTok, and I don't know why, but I got like sucked into Muscle Mama TikTok for a while.
Muscle Mama.
For like every other video I'd scroll, and there'd be like a fitness lady, and it'd be like, I don't know what's happening.
It is perfectly normal and fine to have a fetish, John. There's no judgment here. Having worked in sex research and all of that, like, it's all good as long as you do no harm.
But mostly what it was people stitching those women, and like. And so, like, as soon as this like big muscular giant woman came on the set of this game, I was like, this character has a fetish, and I am exploring it.
The character has a fetish, right, John?
Exactly.
I will say, as a quick aside with that, as far as our upcoming season, we are going to play another game from Asma Kerp and Win Vlathmore and everyone else from their studio. Aquatic Adventures was a Kickstarter that came out earlier this year for OSE, expanding it to that.
Yeah.
We're going to be playing that, and so that is going to be slotted in our upcoming season. If you like,
will there be a muscle mommy in it?
I promise you nothing, but I will see what I can do for you.
I need to explore another character's.
How about the Snorks? What do they do for you, John?
Also,
how muscular are they?
Also, I love the fact that Onslaught 6, who's the lead author on Sea Space Cowboy, said in the chat, we didn't win, but we lost to a game called Cocaine and Alligators, so I can't be mad. And I think that's the great spirit to have.
Yeah.
We have one more we have two more categories to go, actually. But here's the thing, man. We played over 40 games this year, and we left a lot of games on the cutting room floor that we didn't even get to.
Yeah.
There are so many cool games, and all of you, legitimately, all of you are doing such cool shit.
Yeah.
And
anyway.
And it could be said you're still a winner because our catchphrase, our most lasting catchphrase, came from the game that gets the most.
Also, they did win Best Mechanics, so like,
they got nominated the most times out of.
They did, so we have, as I said, we had two more categories.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the big guys. All of these awards are the big one. That's something that I picked up at another award show where they went through all the awards for a novella and short story and anthology and collection and said, okay, this is the big one, best novel. And I was like, doesn't that just kind of tell everyone else they suck at? Like, no,
maybe they were talking by volume.
All of these are heartfelt and kind of a big deal, in my opinion. This next category, the best game, winner
Coveted
of the
Golden
Tentacle. Yes.
which actually used to be the name of a signature bedroom move of mine, but now I have gifted it unto this show.
The Golden Wandy, the Golden Tentacle. These games pulled everything together the best. These are the ones that had incredible mechanics.
Mhm.
They're the ones that the three of us as players had a blast. They're the ones where we got to tell cool stories while we were doing it.
Flavors were balanced.
These
good
are the
mouthfeel.
games that the four of us finished playing and thought, man, I kind of wish we could just do a campaign of this.
Yeah.
These are the best games of 2022. Again, we put 4 nominees in this because we couldn't bear to cut any others, but we honestly could have probably had 10.
Yeah, easily.
This was a very, very painful category for us to kind of try to figure out. So, without further ado, the nominees for the best game of 2022 are Dungeon Plumbers, Pork in the Void, CU Space Cowboy, and The Abhorrent 6. Now, I don't think we need to talk anymore about CU Space Cowboy. They've been nominated 3 other times.
Their ego is just going to be this
it's going to be a
massive,
and it should be. It's a kick-ass game. But anyway, yeah.
But we've told you why. That's an incredible game.
The only real mention we've made of Abhorrent 6 was Lucid Bossy Cox, which I feel is a disservice to that game. If
you didn't fight for them to be nominated across a few of these categories.
If you like westerns, and if you liked in particular one western, namely Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight, this game is for you because it's that with more. And by more, I won't spoil anything, but I mean a lot more. So it is an amazing game. It really kind of captures the feel of being snowbound in the West, which is where I live. I live about 2.5 hours from where they filmed Hateful Eight. So, it snows a lot here. In fact, as we speak, I think it's still snowing. We got a shit ton of it today, but yeah, great game. Go on.
And I'll second that too, just saying that it was hard for me. I tried to I tried to abstain myself from voting in certain situations because I had an affiliation. So on this one, I did the editing. So I tried to recuse myself. But thinking about games that gave lasting experience, even as a GM thinking about it, the gameplay was very cinematic. So I kind of have that movie in my head, and there are these moments, and you can, in my mind, I think about how the camera moved and the vignettes and the sets and the things that happened in that was a really phenomenal experience. So even, I wasn't trying to vote for it because I was involved in the editorial work, but it just left a very lasting impression, and nothing was really spoiled as a GM having seen how the sausage was made. It was just very organic and a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Nothing like a talking potato.
Yeah. So Pork in the Void, we've talked about a bit. It's a game that I think some of my best character work was during Pork in the Void. We had incredible moments of that's the one where he teleported a bomb inside a monster, I believe.
Yeah. I jokingly referred to it as pigs in Grimdark, which is kind of what it is, and I loved it. I don't know what is going on with the trend in pigmen lately, but I'm rolling with it.
I'm here for it. Yeah,
there are pigmen in Darkest Dungeon. There were pigmen in that. I love it. Yeah.
I have a trend of ruining Charles's life by showing him cool shit.
Yeah, it's true.
All of which has pigmen, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Muscle Mamas or it's pigmen.
One or the other. Yeah.
I don't have to choose.
And I regret to inform you that Aquatic Adventures will not have Snorks nor Muscle Mommies, but it
Aw.
may be considered in the future for a DCC adventure. So
Ooh.
So help me out. Hey, look. I'm on my hands and knees. I'm begging you. I got to get it somewhere. Okay. Porting the Void is also where I decided that I didn't care to hear Ian's big bad guy monologue. And kept
oh, man, I was queuing that up, and you're like, I kill him, and I'm like, wait, but yeah, no,
I kill everything.
I kill everything, and I'm like, John, I hate you.
I think that, like,
I
if you looked at
loathe
our CVs as human beings, like, you would think that I would be the biggest, like, anarchist on the show, the one who, like, fucks with the GM the most. But John, by far, is just like a pain in the ass to like to GM. Like, he's a lovely man, but
have I
like,
ever? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I've never heard someone try to negotiate a role before I played with John. It's like, let's say I rolled a 9. No, let's say I rolled a 10. Like, well, I don't know, John. What did you roll?
Well, like, if you can define
Yeah,
role,
yeah.
Depends what the definition of is.
I love telling stories. And part of my process is being an element of pure chaos.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So
But have I ever, as a GM, ever flat out told you no to something?
I don't think you have. No.
So,
no, much
Which
to
is
your
bad.
detriment.
That yeah, exactly. You need to establish boundaries with us. We're not
it
well
is
behaved.
way too late
why
to
don't
try
we
to
think of this
establish
potentially
dominance.
drinking on this show? Is to tolerate you schmucks.
Last but not least, the last nominee we need to talk about is Dungeon Plumbers.
So fun.
Wow.
I
Give us
was
another
an extremely sexual non-binary mushroom elf mage.
I think that might have been one of the first times that Pashke made me lose control of myself laughing. Like, that I had to go off camera for a minute because of his Waluigi.
Oh yeah.
Like, when he unjointed himself to go through the pipe.
The pipe.
Yeah.
It's what you do.
I love the fact that, like, there's so much joy when you're a GM and there's like a player doing something like horrendously bad, and you're just like, there's nothing you can do to stop the player, and you're like looking at the stat block of the thing they're just bump uglies with, and it's like basically and completely invulnerable, and you have Pashke basically going up and poking like a displacer beast with a toothpick in a pipe, and it's like, nah, this is not going.
I believe shortly after that, I used my power of hypnosis on Charles to convince him he could in fact fit in there.
Yeah, I think so.
While I read erotic poetry at, like, belting it out over the sewers. So that's from a play, like, that's what we played, right? From a, like, what is this book for GMs? This book is a, like, hey, what if I want to play Diesel Punk in OSE?
Mhm.
And it's a really, really well done book. I got it. I don't have the OSE books, but I read it from cover to cover. Everything's super easy to understand, beautifully laid out. The art looks great, and it feels good. It feels really good, and the random tables for building adventures and the baked in setting are all fantastic for Dungeon Plumbers. Like,
I mean, big
Tutor
props.
the Snooter. It's a great
Yes.
product.
Wayne is fantastic.
He
Wayne
is.
Roberts is an amazing game designer, and I've learned a lot from him.
I make out with him any day of the week.
It's impressive just how he makes everything very airtight, so everything is succinct and functional. And it was impressive looking at that from like a GM perspective, from all the utility, the extra expansions that were built onto OSE to make it unique, but yet no bloat. and then the very succinct adventures in the back. There's a lot crammed in those books.
Yeah.
And so, having being worked on like some of his other projects, where I'm a guest writer and editor for Worldbreaker and Dark Cards Zyartos, fantastic stuff. And we'll actually be in our next season playing Pan, His Majesty in Yellow, which Charles Bernard, you had reviewed. So that'll be another experience in the OSD world with Wayne Roberts creations.
Real quick shout out, Porkin in the Void. Sorry to take a step back. I just want to. We haven't talked a lot about the art, except for
incredible.
Simone Tometa, who is. I don't know, like if you follow my stuff at all, Simone Tometa does a ton of art.
Yep.
For Manus Heart Press, me personally, and for Manus Heart Games. Michael Harmon, who is the Yogdu Games, who did a bunch of the art for Pork in the Void because it's Yogdu Games product.
Exactly.
Hey Charles, did you know he did a bunch of the old GURPS and Innomine covers?
No shit.
What?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
The old devil you.
The old devil.
Yeah. And his stuff's fucking sick. It's incredible. So Michael Harmon and Simone Tometa, like incredible artists, and I personally got the like fucking hardcover collector's edition of Pork in the Void on Kickstarter. So I'm super excited to get that. I guess those are the nominees. Without further ado,
the envelope, please.
The winner for the best game of 2020, the Golden Wandy Tentacle. 2022. God damn, I'm old.
Here's Johnny.
We're all old here.
Johnny boy, the pipes. Okay, the winner is
calling you
Dungeon Plumbers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dungeon Plumbers. Congratulations. Again, like it's been so fucking hard to pick who's going to win, but each of these winners deserves that win.
Yeah.
Man, we scrapped over this.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be a group decision that was very heartfelt. We didn't want one person to kind of steamroll the others, as I'm doing verbally tonight,
or feel left out, as Pashki no doubt is.
I am thoroughly distracted with moving things around because the way I set this up,
I'm trying to cover for you, buddy.
Did not work.
I mean, this gives us some opportunities if there's any other honorable mentions or favorite gaming moments to discuss as well.
Well, I actually wanted to say just a brief word about our format and like what makes this award different perhaps than other ones is like like John has said, we played 41 freaking games this year, one a week. We don't do full length campaigns. And so we take something out of the box and play with it and see if we can break it every week.
Me.
And I think that definitely is where our, America's Test Table, where we don't, play test games, we stress test them, comes from. Is like, we have exactly 2 hours to see how badly we can, either like take a game and just like take off in it like a Lamborghini, or just smash into a tree. Like, but either way,
how much fun we can all have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's like at the end of this, that's how we looked at these things: is how much fun did we all have in these various categories? Because Charles is right. We play these games for 2 hours. Well, let me rephrase this. You see us play these games for 2 hours. Charles goes through all the rule books looking for art for promo and does a bit of reading. Ian plans these adventures for hours every week that we then completely ignore as I negotiate my roles. And then if I can get my hands on a physical book, Charles will be the first person to tell you I read rule books like they're novels. I read them cover to cover for fun.
Yep.
So in between the four of us, we've got probably nearly 100 years of TTRPG playing and reading.
Yeah,
basically, almost. Yeah.
Like, two of us do this professionally. Like, two of us are designers, writers, and game editors. Charles is going to be working with me on some stuff this coming year to get into those shoes himself, but he's a professional writer who's been playing D&D since the Red Box came out.
Yep.
And Patchkey is no slouch. Like, he's the only one here who sword fights. He loves this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
he'll actually kick your ass.
Yeah.
John's all words about punching through walls, but if anyone's gonna like really kick some asses, Patchy will have a skewer.
He won't kick your ass. He'll cleave your ass in 20s.
It's true.
He'll give you an
a
ass
big game, but I once dislocated my shoulder pooping. So like,
yeah,
I don't. Like,
I haven't seen that.
The shoulder's a weird one. Like I could see hip or something, but
I have a little poop closet, so I was like ripping the sides.
But like brace.
I have my own. We all have a defecation story.
In my defense, I both had norovirus and the new magazine of Muscle Mommy. So it was an exciting afternoon for me.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm full of like other types of great stories about things that didn't make our list but are like memorable moments. Do we have like an opportunity to go into those, or should we start talking our next season?
We have our whole we have a while. We don't have a while. We have, but some of the items we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about the first game I DM'd. The Real Thing, which was powered by the Apocalypse,
and which is a Faith No More like officially authorized TTRPG.
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I hail from,
and that one was fun because that's where I got to play Babyface Gertrude, one of my all-time favorite characters that I inhabited. That old lady just fucked the hell out of John Dillinger.
Exactly, and I am not like a big on being a player, and you on your character said that you broke a Werther's in half, and like I thought that was an impossible feat. After talking about it afterwards, you all said, yeah, you could break a Werther's in half, but like to me, I think about them like being in my grandmother's. It was an almond shaped candy dish, like literally with the nut lid and everything, and they were always rock hard. So like I thought like your character was like secretly possessed with like a demon. So the entire game I'm like, holy shit, this old lady is out there like breaking bricks,
breaking Werther's in half.
Yeah,
and anime style, she does this, and then a second later it falls.
Which is why I suck as a player and can just do the GM
was that
things.
Candy dish of your grandma's like the kind where you'd like pick up one piece and all of them would come up out of the tray?
No, they would be fresh because the grandkids would eat them. It was sad because I always wanted that dish after they passed. I didn't get it, and I learned just recently the origin of that dish. It was a high school gift from my uncle, who's now like in the 70s, got for his mom, and so it was just kind of like a weird high school, like cheap Christmas present that just lasted, like the almond candy dish.
Yeah. Before we go any further, and we do have a few more games we need to talk about, a retrospective. I want to mention, if you want us to play your game, if you want a chance at the coveted Wandy next December, you can reach us by emailing.
We'll give you a Wandy.
wanmonops@gmail.com.
Thank you. wanmonops@gmail.com. If you would like Mr. Bernard to review your game, well, you can just send him a PDF. You can get in touch with him.
You can do wanmonops.com as well, and I'll get it to you.
If you want me to review your game, I review physical products. So if you're proud of that, you can get in touch with wanmonops@gmail.com. I'm happy to do a print to order code. I may have already bought your game because I buy a lot of games. So don't hesitate to reach out to Ian through the wanmonops and ask us to review it. Or if you want us to play it, reach out to us that way. Us playing it on the show is the only way to get nominated for a Wandy. So do keep that in mind.
And as a quick aside, it's also worth mentioning a big thank you to Free League Games, who also provided us a lot of games that we are working into our season from 2022 to 2023. They also lovingly sent us some physical copies of books, so we also recognize their generosity. Plus, also,
and they're killing it in terms of their product line, their adaptation stuff that's coming up. I read a review of the new Blade Runner TTRPG that makes me want to play it real hard. So
we had several games this year that we played on air that we couldn't include because we worked on them, and we felt that it was a little too nepotismal.
Conflict of interest. Yeah.
Right.
So those games include Morkabians 1.1, which I wrote. It includes Sundered Sundries Almost Bow, which we are a Kickstarter.
What do you call it?
For,
Yeah,
thank
stretch
you.
goal.
It includes Godless League Adventures, which Ian and I co-wrote, and we did a playtest with the wonderful Christine Morgan. And it also includes Svamp from Bleak Games, which I did some writing and editing on. So those games were incredible. They were lots of fun. Oh, and Trapped Within, which Ian worked on. All those games are things that we worked on, and as much as we loved them, we felt it would be a little
incestuous.
Which like as long as you're not kid born, it's all good. But
so do I now? Can I get to the nomination, the unofficial? Oh, okay, I'm cutting you off.
No, we're talking. Oh, yes, we can talk about our. They're not nominations. We can talk about our honorable mentions.
Yeah, these are games that we. It was so hard to narrow down. We wanted to throw some shouts out there to people who might not have, officially made it onto our lists, but we still felt deserved special mention. And Ian, I'll let you take it away from here.
No, the one of the ones I was going to mention too when we talked about game experience would have been Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland.
Yes,
because that is a loving tribute to all things nostalgic of my childhood.
Yes,
to the book layout, to design, to the character classes. And thinking about just the gameplay that we had, you guys got into like the third room and you just fucked everything up. And that was one of the few games where you fucked up so badly that you just left and walked out. And that was fantastic. Like, I loved it. Like, just everything that could have gone wrong did. And it was just a tail between your legs, just walk out. And I was like, even though what the module was about, so you just died basically in the intro.
That was the first game I died in on show.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Mashnitana.
Yeah.
That was for two reasons. First, it was a game where I saw a Jewish game on Kickstarter, and I kind of brought it to the guys and said, "Hey, this is purely selfish. Could we please have this on?" And they lovingly said yes. And I'll let Charles say his part about this because I think it's important to. But it's also the first game I got smashed during.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had a break too.
Manishta is a Passover. Is Seder the right word? Game? That also through role playing tells the story of Passover, like the Passover story. And as a Satanist, I'm like not necessarily the biggest fan of God or God-based games, but I had a really great time with that game. The creators were kind enough to come on and run it. They were really cool people. It was a fun experience, and the improv element of that was more fun and allowed more room for sort of like non-traditional stories in that same mold than it might otherwise have done.
Well, what's interesting about that game to me, without getting too much into like theology and philosophy, right, is that it felt very correct. It felt very Jewish in terms, and it's a Jewish game of Seder, of course, but of like reinterpreting and saying like, okay, but why is this passage problematic? What if these people were queer? What then? Or what if of not taking things at face value and not being afraid to ask questions or subvert. So I thought it was a fantastic game, and I was very happy to be able to run it on stream while drinking a lot of rum.
Yeah, high Jewish holidays are always fun because John is on stream getting sloshed. It was what night of Hanukkah was it where you were boisterously singing with your microphone on before we
that would have been exactly 1 week ago. My
One
friend.
week ago, yeah. I think it was night number 4, and that was some funny shit. I very and the amazing thing was that he sobered up in time for the show.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing. I was scared. I actually I had to have an assignment like
he was a little nervous.
Is everything okay? You just got more sober than I expected. I'm like, you're probably more sober than I am. Like, what's going on?
So I have a second liver that I just forced all the liquor into, and I just held it there and like drip fed it into my weaker human liver.
Only
during
one
the
of us
game.
has redundant organs.
John has Astarte's anatomy is how that shit happened. It takes some of that fuel oil stuff that the Iron Warriors brew to get him like really drunk, you know. Yeah.
What about you, Mr. Paschke? Since you've been running this behind the scenes, now having opportunity to reflect on your years, are there things that you would like to mention? Favorite games, favorite moments, or favorite characters you've played this year?
Oh man,
I think back with you when you played through Runa's Palace of Metagorgos, when you had destroyed your back, you were on painkillers, but you would not get a stub, and you played through that, and none of us knew what agony you were on, and that you were tripping balls on pain pills. Fantastic. Anyways, that was the quick aside saying Paschke is unsung hero here.
I mean, I think we've like almost all my favorite moments we've talked about already. Or at least you guys mostly did. Or I mentioned earlier the other game,
Codex Martialis.
Yes, thank you. Honestly, it's a curveball here. It's not even Wanman related. I was at a convention called GeeklyCon, and there I got to play a game called Crokinole. And it's a Canadian board game where you flick little buttons across the board, and the concept behind it is really easy to learn, but gosh darn it, did I spend probably 30 hours playing that over a weekend? Just come on, get there. Get in the hole.
Get it.
I read something about how the biggest game throughout a bunch of the Middle East and Southeast Asia is this Pakistani game that's very similar. It's like flicking little pieces of wood to try and get basically into a goal. But all the boards are handmade and hand painted.
Yeah.
And
that reminds back when I was working with I was meeting with Roland Coons and Brent Critchfield of Studio Woe on Game Design Weekly. Both Brent and Roland were working on Flickr games.
Oh, interesting.
At the time, and that was 8-9 years ago at this point.
I just remember being in high school and playing football with the little thing you'd fold up and then flick and try to get a field goal.
Nice.
Or Coob. That one's played Coob.
Yeah.
That's another great one.
I have a final game to mention for the evening, as an honorable mention. It's the other game I ran this year. Cyber Metal 2012.
So much fun. Yeah.
The book is so beautiful. So
the distant future of 2012.
Adam Voss is one of my favorite game designers. Everything he does rules, and I am still like, Ian, we have to play Necronautilus. We can play. So there's a new game coming out called Soul Burner, which is a mix of Necronautilus and Morkborg.
We'll get it on the schedule.
So, but Cyber Metal 2012 is like cyberpunk, but also Satan punk, and also post-apocalyptic, but also big city, like Mega City Judge Dredd. It just combines everything in this big mosh posh of silliness that was an absolute blast, and it was so extremely easy to prep because I basically was like, what's 7 Halloween themed things I can make them do, and then at the end I made them fight Ghost Godzilla. So
the video nasties things is fun. I guess I suicide player killed on that.
You did,
I absolutely insisted that kaiju devoured me.
You did.
Yeah.
Showed him your juicy ass.
I need to
Pick me up and ate me.
I need to
Oh,
rewatch
that's I forgot to mention that while we were going through our catchphrase thing. That'll be my final word for the evening. That loose and bossy Cox with the beautiful graphic
Yep.
drawn by Mr.
By
Pashke. I'm willing to commit on camera before Lucifer, the internet, and everyone. That is going on my left butt cheek.
Nice.
Loose and bossy Cox.
We need
So-
photographic evidence of this. And
yes.
if you want us to
Oh
split the
yeah,
cost,
maybe
I will
that'll
split
be
the
what
cost.
finally gets us an NSFW on Twitter. Is like my
Nice.
juicy ass. We'll see. Yeah, definitely. Like, if I could do it without violating community standards, I will.
So we do have one more category. We do.
Man.
Finally, we'd like to talk about our best fans.
Yep.
That's right. We are not just awarding ourselves, we're awarding you. Well, we're awarding one of you. We're judging all of you. So the nominees for our best fans are the people who are watching the stream. That's you on Twitch. That are with us right now who can say, yay, we've been nominated. In chat, do it while I talk.
Right now.
Our second nominee is the people watching on YouTube.
Mhm.
That's you if you're watching on YouTube after I've said this. You're in the future.
Yep.
Tell me, what are the winning lottery numbers?
Are any of us still alive?
You can comment.
I
You can leave comments that will be there for eternity, where those jackasses who are on Twitch can just do chat and then it's lost forever. You are immortal.
Yes. Internet
third-
immortality.
The third nominee are the people listening to this on audio. You
Mhm.
don't see our hideous visages. You
No.
just hear the golden lyricism of our voices.
Congratulations on
siren
sparing
calls.
yourselves the horror.
Well, you can just listen to us while you take a poop,
Yep.
Mhm.
and you can just squeeze one off if one of our voices hits you just right. It's
Or
a
while you're
beautiful
at the
thing.
gym, or
And-
both.
And
Or you-
we also have to give a recognition to the person that's attended the most streams, and that would be Trachea One.
They're an honorable mention. We're not talking about him
Yeah.
right now.
I tried, Tim. I
You
tried.
audio listeners can listen to this at the gym while you become muscle mommies. Do you understand how cool that is?
In service of John's dark
Growing
desires.
fetish. Yeah.
Luckily, you can't see the twisted face I have at my delight of this. And the winner is the people who subscribe.
Yep.
You can subscribe on Twitch. You can
Yeah.
subscribe on YouTube. You can subscribe on audio. You can all be winners.
Mail
So
us $1.
congratulations.
Shit. Any of that.
All of it.
Liking on all of our platforms. If you want something on YouTube, please hit like, for example. You're probably tired of people saying, hey, smash that like and subscribe button, but geez, it helps to
that
give us more
bell.
Bezos bucks and give us more algorithm milk and other things that are helpful.
Algorithm
Since we
milk.
don't demand any type of tribute or money from any of you, at
Yeah.
some point we'll probably make like a coffee or something like that, or
Mhm.
Patreon to help support streaming costs. But hitting those likes and subscribe buttons.
Yeah, Charles and I have talked about doing a one-on-one
Custom sock
40K
garter. Oh, yeah.
tabletop
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
And that might be something we do on Patreon.
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Because
that you
I could talk for approximately 11 hours with John per day about 40K.
He does.
I'm right there. You
He
don't
calls
exclude
me in the morning, and I put him on speaker, mute my phone, and
Yep.
just walk around while he talks to me about 40K. So
Like a servo skull.
you're my servo skull. If you hope you enjoy this. Look, if this is your first time catching the show,
Get it.
welcome, I guess.
Yeah.
It's for your
Thank you
health.
so much. Yeah, it's for your health. Get
Mhm.
it.
Yep.
I will link. God help me. I will link the episodes that were nominated and won in the show notes. It may take me
I
a
can
minute
do it.
to do because
I
is a lot.
Nah, I
Um,
could do it. I did it all earlier. I emailed everyone.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Do it.
If you
I
email
don't
me
check
all
my
that,
email often enough.
I will
I can
put it
make
in
a
the show
list.
notes. Anyway, so you can catch up on and see all these moments that we're laughing and enjoying.
Mhm.
If you want to find out more about us, you can go to juanmoncast.com, where you can find all of our links, all of our socials. You can read up on the three of us, figure out how to contact us. You can find my books, you can find Charles's books, you can find Ian's projects, you can find Mr. Patchkey's Instagram and see whatever shit he's cooking, which looks delicious. And I'm mad because I was going to cook dinner tonight, but my groceries never got here. So instead, I ordered a fucking pizza.
You're mad because you ordered a pizza? Feel something other than anger, buddy.
There is nothing. I already told you the alpha omega of anger.
I'm like
I am the rage of Jesus.
I have to eat a delicious pizza. God damn it! Fucking pizza. I'm so fucking mad at this thing. Hot.
I am rage Jesus.
Right at my door. Fucking pizza.
I'm picturing Jesus with like a rad mohawk.
I'm imagining
everything else is the same.
Like Tourette's guy, the early internet sketch comic, and ordering a pizza. Fuck salt.
So
you're lucky this thing ain't hard. I mean, this thing, not my dick.
I love that.
You can find it all on juanmoncast.com. If you're watching this on Twitch, check us out on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, check us out on Twitch.
Yeah.
And both of you assholes should check us out on whatever service you use to listen to your podcast, because we are audio as well. Although you will miss my rad Monster Hunter tie and the fact that Charles has gone completely nude while recording this.
Yep.
Both of them. It's a high mind.
It is.
You'll never know which one of us has a third nipple.
He's showing us the territory that tattoo is going to be planted on.
I don't know that he needs to spread his cheeks quite that far, but there you have it.
I like the view. When you hear the wind soar over it, you get that like low moaning howl. Like
yeah,
you really need the hemorrhoids to make it reverb.
Yeah, like
friends,
the hair bristling in the wind.
Yeah,
this year has been an absolute painful blast, like a shotgun to the face. But we're going to do it again. We're going to continue making this dumb show, and we'll continue working on these games. And we love doing it, and we love you all very much. Thank you so much for joining us on this consensual journey we call Wandering Monster. I am John Baltusberger.
I am Charles R. Bernard.
Ian Servas.
Mr. Pashke.
We will be back next year. January, I don't know the date. We'll be back January 24th, 2023. Until then, stay safe, stay warm, play some fucking amazing games, and as Walter Cronkite would say, potato.
Potato.